I have a lot of Excel spreadsheets, uh, a lot. I email them to myself in case my computer breaks, but that's about it. I update them every season. Sometimes I retire some spreadsheets if they don't really yield anything that's actionable. But most of the spreadsheets, there's about 25, and really 25 like files, and then each file has a bunch of spreadsheets and all that stuff. But anyway, the first one I created from what I remember was during the 2019 season. That was the first time I really sat down and said, okay, I have this theory. I'm seeing Christian McCaffrey. During that season, he accounted for like 40% of, the offensive yards for the Panthers. And I compared it to Adrian Peterson's historic 2012 campaign when Peterson accounted for 42% of the Vikings offensive yards that year. It was an insane percentage. And I remember thinking, okay, pitchers, Major League Baseball pitchers, generally don't throw more than 100 pitches in a game. Maybe you go 110, 115 if the, manager knows what they're doing, in managing that pitcher's, count. But in general, the days of Satchel Paige throwing 160 times, I don't know. I love Satchel Paige, so I'm just throwing that out there. He may have done that a bunch of times. That's gone. The force of pitchers throwing the ball is so intense that you cannot maintain a career doing that. Everyone in Major League Baseball knows that. In the NFL, my theory was you can't have running backs just go out there and get 350, 400 touches in a season after season after season, and not expect a crash. Some of it is just, at some point a running back will crash. So I had to try to figure out, is there statistical evidence that the crashes that happen after a big workload are more than normal? That this is not what we would normally expect if we were to pick 10 random running backs. So Christian McCaffrey had 403 touches that year. He was the number one fantasy running back heading into 2020. I issued a polite warning. Hey, I've got this spreadsheet. It says that this guy's a risk. I don't know if you want to draft him number one overall. Yeah. I don't remember what my philosophy was that year drafting. If I had had the number one pick, would I have taken him? I don't think I would have. I think I would have stuck with my stats. But the stats back then were still kind of fresh. I was still trying to figure out what is the logic here. And of course, as most of us remember, McCaffrey was hurt most of the next season, and much of the season after that. Then he returned, 2022, looked great, and then he was turned loose in 2023. Had 272 carries in the regular season, 67 receptions. What was it, like 339 or something like that. And then you get into the playoffs, and this was something that my spreadsheet didn't factor back in 2019. But 2 years ago, I realized, wait a second, the playoffs count. Like, running backs are still running with the ball. They're still catching balls in the playoffs. You have to start to factor that in. So I redid all the spreadsheets, added all that in. And then you look at Christian McCaffrey in 2023, he had well over 400 touches. That's pretty scary to get over 400 touches again in a career. And so last year I wrote more forcefully on my blog, Christian McCaffrey, number one overall ADP in fantasy, stay away. This was back in July. This was before there was even a whiff of the fact that I think it was his foot was bothering him or something like that. He went to the UK to get it checked out. His ADP didn't really move much at that point because everyone kept saying, oh, it's not a big deal. And then sure enough, he misses most of the season. The question now, this spreadsheet is something I do take pride in. I have to. Like it's helped me out. I know it's helped some of you out. And it works. The magic of the spreadsheet is when you look at the 200 some odd players who've had 350 plus touches, and you look at their age and other factors, what I argued last year was there have been 25 running backs of at least 27 years old who've had at least 400 touches in a season. And of those 25, 23 have regressed the next season. And the two that didn't went up infinitesimally the next season. A regression is coming, and the regression is generally huge, like 30% on average. So I was able to present that evidence, not to say McCaffrey is going to be, injury prone or bust or whatever. It was just, man, the numbers show. You've got 23 out of 25, 92% of all running backs in this subset have regressed. That's not just a random coincidence. That is bankable. You can make decisions off of that. What I don't have a spreadsheet on, and maybe I should create one, and depending on, whether I can ever make this my full-time job, which I can't. Thank you to all the donations I get, but it is very much a side gig, with some spending money that thanks to you all, I get to be able to say to my kids, yeah, daddy's doing some work here because, I get a few bucks every day, doing this work. It's worth it. It's worth it to people and I enjoy it. And then they leave me alone and then they come back to me and then I play with them. But I haven't done a spreadsheet on what happens the next year. So you've got a guy like McCaffrey who has, 400 plus touches. I have a pretty good sense of what happens the year after that, major injury risk and or regression risk. But what happens the year after that? We're now in 2025. McCaffrey is a year removed from all that crud. And now his ADP is like 4, I think, among running backs. That makes me anxious. Maybe it shouldn't make me anxious. Maybe I should look at it and say, you know what? He had his regression. That was the point. 2024 was the regression. Now he's back to being the 28 going on 29-year-old who's still Christian McCaffrey, who can still catch 5 balls a game and get, or more, and get you 30, 40, 50 receiving yards a game on a good day and just be a complete touchdown monster in terms of what he can contribute to that offense. So it's understood why his ADP is 4. It still makes me uneasy. And maybe the uneasiness is the fact that he's missed considerable time during his career. That over the last 5 seasons, he's played pretty much 2 full seasons and 3 seasons where he's averaged about 5 games in each of those seasons. That is concerning. Like there's no way to spin that and say, well, at 29 years old, he'll be back to, 17 games and 400 touches. No, probably not going to happen. And the thing that's really holding me off is that the Niners this year, unlike last year and the year before, aren't the powerhouse of the NFC, aren't a top contender to get back to the Super Bowl. And so the question becomes, how can you rationalize, if you're the Niners coaching staff, giving McCaffrey 20, 22 touches a game when he's also signed in the next year and you're probably going to need him more next year? Like, are you really going to risk a heavy workload season knowing that the past 2 times that's happened to this player, he's basically missed most of the next season in recovery? So my uneasiness is based not just on the fact that he has gotten hurt before and paid the price. Fantasy managers have also paid the price. It's that this is not on paper the same kind of competitive team that would warrant McCaffrey being a full service bell cow. I think that 16 to 18 touches is very realistic because it is Christian McCaffrey. And as long as he's healthy, they're not going to just hold him back to 12 to 14. It's something that managers really need to think about because he's going in the first round and you don't want to make the mistake of passing on a guy with that elite production. At the same time, you don't want to make the mistake of taking a guy that early with that injury history and that strong potential for a pullback in volume. That's what scares me about Christian McCaffrey. I'm BJ Riddell, Fantasy Football for Winners. Follow me on the blog, Facebook, on the website, email me at the Gmail account. See you tomorrow.